Why would you go into politics if you didn't want certain secrets to come out? And when you're dealing with leading a nation or trying to protect a nation of people, the people deserve to see your honesty. People of Delaware, you could be called in. This could be your jury duty. The French, no one revolutions like the French. I mean, the
Exactly.
American Revolution was unicorns and Play-Doh compared to what happened in France.
If you are prepared, if you're the type of person where the whole of who you are as a person is a lie, then how can you be trusted with being a caretaker for your citizens? I love this quote. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act.
If it's true, it's not defamation if it's true. It doesn't matter if the truth has hurt you, it's still not defamation.
Right, welcome back everyone to the Live, Love, Learn podcast, and I am back for our weekly coffee chats with my friend Brice from Esoteric Atlanta. Now, we've got quite a few new listeners here, so we do weekly chats on each of us. We alternate 1 week on Brice's channel, 1 week on mine. And these chats, they're not interviews, they're coffee chats where we pick a subject which we think is relevant to lots going on in the world, and we discuss them, including your audience in the chat. So we love your interaction. We love to know your thoughts and your questions, and we're always open to suggestions. And this week, Brice, I really wanted to pick out the Candace Owens being sued by the Macrons in France. Well, she's being sued in the USA by the French president and his first, in inverted commas, lady. And this is a bit of a giggle one, but it's not. It's raising a lot of really serious issues, so many that we're going to discuss today. Because if this is true, which we don't know yet, this is all alleged at the moment, but if leaders of the world, and we've seen this with, there's lots of question marks over lots of other leaders like Trudeau and Obama and things, if our so-called leaders, in inverted commas, are not honest about, if their whole life is a lie, then what does that say about everything else that they're trying to enforce on us? So first and foremost, how are you, and why do you love this subject matter?
Well, we're getting to this point. I don't know. Do you guys have this saying in England, slap happy?
Yeah,
Like when a kid is super tired and they've gone past nap time, they become happy, almost like drunk with their tiredness, even though they're not. I feel like that's where I feel like that's where I am at least. Like
mm,
we've been on this road for such a long time of realizing the world around us is an absolute joke and nothing is real. And for this to happen, and I think Candace made me laugh as too in her interview with Tucker Carlson. I wouldn't want to go up against Candace Owens. That
no,
woman is fierce. But as far as like whether or not the first lady of France is not or is an actual biological lady, I don't think that's actually the real big issue. I think you and I have talked about this. I don't care
no,
what you do with your body. Like that's not, but as far as like selling a lie, that's where the problem is. And it's kind of like reality TV, like people who go on reality TV and then they get mad when part of their history or their past has been pulled up. And it's like, well, why would you go on reality TV if you didn't want people looking into your life? Same thing with
yeah,
politics. Why would you go into politics if you didn't want certain secrets to come out? And when you're dealing with leading a nation or trying to protect a nation of people, the people deserve to see your honesty. Yes, there are private things that every person gets is privy to, but when it comes to this, the lies and the manipulation, and as Candace has uncovered in her research, we'll say allegedly, since the Macrons are kind of little, in my opinion, a little wackadoo when it comes to this stuff. Um, don't come after us. We're just two ladies having a coffee chat. Neither one of us are French, so it's like pulling that thread of a sweater where more stuff has come out that is very serious when it comes to the Macrons, allegedly, the alleged implications of things they're involved in, which if I were a French citizen, which I think a lot of French citizens have been very concerned, rightly
yeah.
so.
And we've all got, everyone's watching this from different areas of the world, and all of us have got different free speech, laws. Those of us that have been following Brice and I for a while on our channels, you know, because we're not news channels on YouTube, we have to use code words for certain
Yes.
things. Otherwise, we get our channels taken down. And that has happened. It is real. If you're a
Yes.
news channel, you've got a lot more leeway than people like us have. But for those people that aren't familiar with the case, I'm just going to run through a few details just to sort of set the scene. So Candace Owens has run a series on her YouTube channel called Becoming Brigitte, and Brigitte Macron is the First Lady of France, married to President Emmanuel Macron. Now, there's a really good journalist and a couple of other, but the main one, Xavier Poussard in France, has written a whole book on this and literally spent well over 10 years researching. And all of this started off as an innocent question where people wanted to celebrate Brigitte Macron and write a book and, you know, celebrate the First Lady of France. And then when they started asking some very basic questions and asking for some very basic pictures, it was like, what is going on here? This is not what we expected. Why the secrecy, people disappearing, information disappearing, school yearbook photos disappearing? But where we're at the moment is this series is brilliant. And if any of you haven't watched it, I want to reiterate the issue here is nothing to do with transgenderism.
Right.
Nothing to do with people not being able to make their own choice about what they do with their body. It's about the deception that all of our leaders are under. If you are prepared, if you're the type of person where the whole of who you are as a person is a lie, then how can you be trusted with being a caretaker for your citizens?
Right.
So there's a defamation lawsuit, and this is absolutely setting a precedent. So in July 2025, President Emmanuel Macron and First Lady Brigitte Macron filed a 219 defamation lawsuit in Delaware, USA, against Candace Owens and her business entities. They're accusing of Candace of promoting false conspiracy theories, including that Brigitte Macron was born a male, known as Jean-Michel Trogneux, who is presented as her brother, that the couple are blood relatives and are actually engaged in incest. When you watch the series, you'll realise that they met when Emmanuel Macron was a lot younger than they're declaring, and
And
Brigitte was her teacher. He was
I was about to say,
14.
wasn't the start of a lot of this sniffing around was the fact that there was allegedly
A
an
huge age
inappropriate,
difference.
and it
And
was kind of like,
yeah, he was 14, he was a minor.
and
And
she
they
was his
lied about
teacher.
this, and she was a
Yeah.
teacher, and that his parents anyway.
Oh,
When
I lost your
what?
sound. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear
Oh,
me?
now I can hear you. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. So he's I laugh because I know people think we're mad, but seriously, Zoom cuts us off at certain points. And Candice has alleged, and with Xavier Poussard, so that they're Macron's actually blood relatives engaged in incest. That Emmanuel Macron is a product of CIA-operated mind control, fraud, and identity manipulation. Now, the part of the lawsuit is about arguing that Candace Owens has monetized this information and sensationalized it, basically, including selling mocking T-shirts, which is Man of the Year with Brigitte's face on it. I mean, the thing is, if someone did that to me, I wouldn't be remotely offended.
We
I
need those
really
t-shirts,
wouldn't. I'd
Catherine.
be wetting myself laughing. But so this is a defamation. So interestingly, they're not coming at Candice to say what she's saying is wrong. They're accusing her of tremendous reputational damage. Candace Owens is absolutely a firecracker. I mean, I'm sure most of you know her, but she is not taking this sitting down. And she's basically saying it's an attack on freedom. And if you look at her in recent interviews, you'll see that she actually says, and it's not been distributed, there's no reason to, no, it's not being disputed, that President Trump actually phoned her up the last time that Emmanuel Macron was in Washington having a meeting with him, and actually said that Emmanuel Macron had asked Trump to intervene and ask Candace Owens to stop doing this. So this is unbelievable. One, now it's going to court. Candice is not backing down because she believes she has all the facts. And I have listened to the series and I cannot see how she's not right. Now, of course, if there's new information coming in that proves But even if they submitted a DNA test, the only way I'd believe it is if we saw the blood being drawn and did the DNA test there and then, like a pregnancy test. Anyone else can wee on a stick and pretend it's
Yeah.
theirs. So, even if they supposedly produce the genetics, I would still want to know, how do you know that's come from her? But this is the level of deceit, potential alleged deceit, is unbelievable. And what strikes me, and like Candice said, Brice, is they have had so much opportunity. They've just lost a lawsuit in France against a journalist that they've been, had a lawsuit against for years. So why would you not just produce the evidence ages ago and shut this down? And why are you looking at defamation and basically online bullying rather than saying it's false?
Well, this is why I wore I really don't my I really don't care Margaret t-shirt today because I have been watching legal in the United States because this lawsuit is happening in the United States. So we're looking at United States law, not French law,
Hmm.
right? So there's certain, even though I think a lot of Western countries have a lot of similarities in their legal system, there's certain nuances within each country. And I have listened to a lot of legal people analyze this case, and every single one of them said the Macrons are going to wish they'd never filed this lawsuit because they don't
Absolutely.
understand the American legal system. What it appears from these other legal, and I've listened to multiple different legal people looking through this lawsuit, and what they have said is it appears to them that the Macrons do not understand civil court in the United. This is not criminal court, this is civil court in the United States, and they are in for a rude awakening because the United States, a public person, I've had this struggle before. Anybody who has over 10,000 followers on any social media platform, so that includes Catherine as well, you are considered a public person. And so it is harder for you as a public person to prove defamation, to prove. Now, there's some things that are easier, like for stalking situations, they're more active with public people because it's more likelihood that you're going to be hurt because you are so public, people can find you. But when it comes to defamation, if you're a celebrity, a public person, part of being a public person is getting
Yeah.
trolled, right? And the courts recognize that you've put yourself out, and so people are going to have opinions. And so it's way harder to prove defamation. With defamation, you also have to prove loss of income. This is the president of France, one of the most powerful human beings in France,
And let,
has
yes, someone's pulling his strings from above.
right, like, but he's not hurting financially. Like you're not going out of business. Like what are you? So that's all automatically a strike against the Macrons. Second of all, what every single analysis has said is the Macrons obviously don't understand what's it called? Now my mind's
Discovery.
discovery. That's it. They don't understand discovery because I think that they're in a position in France where they can kind of wield the justice system as they want, but they're not citizens of the United States. They're
Yeah.
coming in as foreign entities. So the same protections they have in France, that does not apply to them in the United States.
Can
And
I
so,
just ask, based on that though,
yeah.
one that I agree with all of that, but also we know allegedly how corrupt the judicial systems are in all of our
Mm,
countries, which is a real worry point for me because just because someone's right doesn't mean
I
they're
mean,
going
they're
to
gonna.
be caught.
So I think this is where Candace has the upper hand in the United States because she's the one being sued.
Yeah.
So technically, she's the one that gets to decide if she wants a judge to determine the outcome, just a singular judge, or a jury.
Oh, cool.
And if they get a jury of 12 people, so 12 strangers off the street, now that's going to be hard for jury selection because they always ask, are you familiar with this case or not?
Oh, I'd love to be on that
I
jury.
know, bro. I could.
I'd do anything to be. I'll disguise myself and I'll pretend that I'm. Well, if
So
they can all get away with it, why can't we?
right, people of Delaware, you could be called in. This could be your jury duty. Is this case because it's in
Oh
Delaware,
my
right?
God, that
So
would just be a
could you
dream
imagine?
job. It'd just be amazing. So many people dread but jury
Duty, yeah.
duty. But this would just be the highlight of anyone's year. It
Oh,
would
I know.
be
Wouldn't
amazing.
it be?
I would pay such money to see Candice take that stand.
Well, we can go in if when it starts. It's Court
I'm
cases are
coming.
open
If
to the
that goes
public.
to court, I'm coming, Bryce.
I will drive up to Delaware and we will meet and we will go in there, guys, because it's open to the public.
Yeah,
They have, and sometimes big cases you'll see in America, they have you have to get there really early in the morning to
yeah,
get first in line because once the seats are full, the seats are. But you can also, there's another thing we can do, Catherine, you and I can do. We can apply, even though we're not media on YouTube, we have a big enough YouTube channel to get a media pass.
right.
So we can go in and say we're going to be reporting this on our YouTube channels and they'll let you in. You get a seat. So that's in Candace's court.
Mm,
The defendant, even in a criminal court in the United States, the defendant can decide whether they want just a judge deciding their fate or they want a jury. Most people will pick a jury. Most people will pick 12 members, and it has in the United States, it has to be unanimous. So all 12 members of the jury have to agree on the verdict in criminal and in civil. If they can't make an agreement, it's a hung jury and they have to do the trial all over again with new jurors. So to avoid corruption, now with that being said, of course they can go and spy on, and I have a feeling, I just have a feeling if she picks a jury trial, they're going to have to sequester the jurors. So
yeah.
what that means is they will have to put the jurors up in a hotel. Usually they sequester jurors when it's a high profile case. It's
Mm,
just so they're not influenced by the media or television. They take their phones away. For this, I think it would be in their best interest to just to sequester them for their own safety, for
yeah.
the jurors' own safety, because in my opinion, allegedly, I think the Macrons are kind of thuggish. And so,
Oh, completely. I mean, let's face it, the French are not known for their, cut their heads off is very well known. And allegedly, and like George Orwell says, I love this quote, in times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act.
mhm.
And I mean, there's so many things, we've people listening to this, either of our podcasts, whether you're looking at Macron, Trudeau, Obama, our British royal family, there's so much mystery, shielding, control of narrative in terms of who they are. And then you've also got all of their connections to the World Economic Forum and
Yep.
the censorship policies. So suing someone like Candace Brice, she's such a high profile, eloquent figure. Do you think a lot of it is about sending a warning shot to anyone to stop questioning the official narrative? Because most people would not be as brave as she is and go for it.
Oh
Most people
no.
would
Well,
crumble.
and this is the first time this has ever happened in the United States. Journalists don't get sued by politicians. That just doesn't
Yeah,
happen in the United States because I think United States politicians know. So that's another thing too. I don't know if it's like this in France, but in a court case in the United States, it's public. So
mm,
every piece of evidence, the only time they ever hold back evidence if a child is involved,
mm.
then they will. Sorry, I just kicked my lamp. It just flickered. If that wasn't a ghost, guys, I actually just kicked the lamp accidentally. So, but if a child is involved, they will withhold evidence, especially if it's an unaliving case. I know we can't say the M word, guys. If you're listening on podcast, if the child has been brutal, they will hold back because it's a minor. And they'll hold back names if it's a minor. They will also hold back names of witnesses a lot if the case is high profile. And
Yeah,
the witnesses could be like we saw that with the Danny Masterson trial
yeah,
in Los Angeles, the Jane Does. They were all Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2. Their names were not released to the public. And the media knows that they cannot release that information too. But politicians typically don't sue journalists because we do in this country, even though as we're saying, our freedom of speech, that kind of stuff is very much under attack right now. We do have freedom of the press that goes with freedom of speech. And it would look really bad in the United States if a politician, even if a politician is trying to make you believe they're for freedom of speech, if they were to go to sue a journalist, that would look really bad for them
yeah.
because of the Constitution. So a lot of them, it is definitely a move that they want to protect their career to not wake up the American, So and I think what the Macrons don't understand too is with this discovery. So with this discovery that's got to be provided in the court, it's going to be public to the American people as well. And so if Brigitte Macron has a pelvis exam, all those findings will be released to the American people. The court system is not going to protect that information because she's the First Lady of France. Here in the United States, she's just a foreign entity suing a journalist.
Well, yes and no. And this is why I would query it. So I agree with everything you're saying. That's the way it's meant to work. But we know with people like Julian Assange and things, just because things are meant to work like that doesn't mean they will, and doesn't mean there's awful consequences. So if the fact I think this is where Candace Owens, she got really criticised by a lot of people about relaying the information that Trump personally called her and said that, look, Macron allegedly spoke to Trump, and that was when they were negotiating what's happening in Ukraine quite a few months ago, and said, you know, I'm not prepared to negotiate anymore unless you stop Trump, Candace, with this story. Now, Trump did not ask Candace to keep that secret. So
Right.
she's completely within her rights to. She did stop putting the next series out for a while whilst these negotiations were ongoing. But what worries me is we know, or we think we know, I mean, me to say we know, I don't really know, I think I know, pretty obvious that all of our politicians are controlled
Hmm.
to some degree or another. Now, how much each one's controlled and by whom is up for lots of debate. But with what's going on in the world, we can see that there's no way these are independent decision makers, and there's so much blackmail, goodness knows what else going on behind the scenes. Or willing. I mean, we always assume it's blackmail, but some of them could be willingly taking
Yeah.
bribes
Money
for
talks in a
doing
lot of
it.
ways. Money and
Yeah,
power
power
talks. Yeah.
talks and everything. So it's not always necessarily blackmail. So what worries me about this is that just because it's meant to work like that, what strings will he pull? Because it's not necessarily him, it's his controllers. Because if this proves to be true, I believe it's true, but
Me too. Yeah.
you know, my spider senses tells me it's definitely true, but of course I've been wrong before and I will be wrong again. But if it's proved to be true, this is going to bring everything tumbling down. It's going to open up the whole Obama conversations. It's going to open up who's really controlling who. It's going to open up when Candace goes through her series, you know, the links to paedophilia
Hmm.
are ridiculous. They're almost as ridiculous as the links are with our royal family.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for
You know,
sure. Even I actually, this is going to sound really weird. If I had to pick between the Macrons or the royal family at this point, I think I'd pick the royal family.
oh,
They
me
seem to
too,
be
me too.
way less scandalous than the Macrons. Do
Yeah.
the Macrons, it just what has been it actually it's kind of scary. Like what has come out about the Macrons kind of is a little scary.
Well, that level of deceit and how many people are involved in covering it up. And of course, you can be involved in covering it up because you can have your life threatened, you can be blackmailed, or you can be bribed. There's so many different ways you can be involved in the cover up, and not all of them are, it's like Cathy O'Brien says, you can't blame someone for what they do under mind control because they're not controlling their mind, someone else is. So there's loads of reasons why people could be covering this up. But even the fact that the school have destroyed the yearbook records and things like this, even there's so many examples of how many people along the lines have to be involved for something like this as a cover up. So at the very least, there's officially by the law paedophilia, an older teacher involved with a younger student.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the least of it, even if they are the sexes that they say they are. But I think one of the things I want to ask you about is, when you look at Agenda 2030, Brice, and the control systems and how it links into the digital ID and controlling us all and shutting it down, dissent, cases like this, it's not just a gossip case. It's so critical to where we're at this time, isn't it?
Well, that's what Candace was saying with Tucker Carlson. Like, she wants this to go to trial.
Yeah,
She wants it. She has the money, and that's the thing too. If Candace wins, which I think if it's done honestly, she will win no problem. Then the Macrons are going to be it's going to be like reverso uno, right? The
yeah,
Macrons are going to have to pay off Candace. They're going to have to pay her attorneys. And this is what I keep going back and forth between Catherine. I keep wondering. We've said this before, the controllers of the world, they're many things, but stupid isn't one of them. They're not stupid. They're incredibly smart and they're patient. And I keep wondering if Macron did this without their permission. And
yeah.
I keep wondering if this is a rogue, because Brigitte, did you see that footage? They showed it here of the airplane where she's
Yeah.
pushing.
I mean, how embarrassing was that? And when they showed that and people quizzed them about it, they said it was Russian disinformation and it never happened. But we'd all
We
seen it.
saw it.
We saw it. And I know there's CGI and everything, but it was that one I'm 99.9% sure was not CGI. It was real, and it's just an example of how dysfunctional. If you've got to the stage, I think that's such a brilliant point that you've just raised there. I think that is absolutely critical because, we've all seen Britney Spears. My heart absolutely breaks for people like
Me
Britney
too.
Spears. There's not one bit of me that blames her for absolutely anything. I think she's the ultimate victim, and it also almost makes me want to cry. But when you see, if you're in that position and you haven't even got the self-restraint to not do something like that on camera, that shows you have completely lost the plot.
Oh,
Completely lost the plot. So therefore, it could be like when you get the MK Ultra victims that are breaking out of their programming. I mean, perhaps Macron is breaking out of his programming.
if between the two of them, I don't like Emmanuel, but I feel sorry for him. I think he's a
Okay.
victim. I think Brigitte is in charge. I think she's his handler. This is my opinion only. And when so for those that don't know, where were they in the United States? Where had they flown? They'd flown somewhere in their presidential airplane, and the door was open. And as it's
Mm.
opening, you see her hand hit. It was like his shoulder. She
Yeah.
pushed him so hard that he went back. I mean, it was an aggressive push.
It
And
was
then he
aggressive and it
immediately
was so sad because then he's like, and all the staff around it were like,
And he
what do
immediately
we do?
like smiles and waves and like they had gotten caught. And first of all, I've never pushed Todd like that ever. I don't even think I could. He's like 6 feet. I'm 5'5". I don't even think I could push him that hard where it would have the reaction that that was visceral anger. Like that was, you
Oh,
can't tell me
yeah,
they were playing around. You can't tell me that was literal violence that we saw in that split second. And if they were willing to do that in that airplane, there's no telling what is happening behind closed doors. And
absolutely, absolutely. And the poor children as well involved and the poor parents and everything.
yes.
I'm saying poor parents, of course, these things are often generational. So, but it's odd that Emmanuel Macron's parents took him out of the school once they realised there was a relationship going on with. And anyone listening to this on the podcast, every time I say Brigitte, I'm putting that in inverted commas because that might or might not be the real name. And I think that this is such we are coming to the sad realization that of so many people, all of us are under mind control. I've done a whole series on this. Please look at my deprogram series. There's some brilliant interviews on that. We're all under mind control to some degree, but there's so many victims out there and so much deceit. And I think what's really, really sad is the fact that all of these people are puppets in a bigger game, and it's such a long game, as we've said before. And whatever, I just think it's incredible in today's age where there's so little resilience. Candace Owens is someone that is so brave, and when you're speaking your truth, and I know that's a very horrible, people hate it when you say your truth, it's just their truth. But what I mean by that is when you're passionately defending a position that you truly believe from all your ethical points of view is right, you will go and above the beyond. When you're trying to defend a lie, it's really difficult not to tie yourself up in knots. And that's one of the key things I think about this. There were so many times when they could have so easily got out of this. And the fact that they haven't, and the fact that certain medical professionals who are experts in sex change surgery and everything are have been unalived recently
Yeah.
since this has come out is another string to the bow. And I think if something like this comes out, this could change everything, which is why I'm just going into a hot sweat now about it, because yes, the justice system should work like that, but can you name a single case in modern times in America where the justice system has done what it is meant to have done?
Well, and that's why I go, it's either one of two things are going to happen. Either the puppeters are trying to sacrifice Candace and to make an example of truthers, quote unquote, researchers, or the Macrons have gone rogue
Yeah,
and they're going to now sacrifice the Macrons.
yeah,
Hope that's what it is because I think that that will take down. And that's I keep thinking too, like idiots. Like, regardless of anything, Macrons, you guys are idiots. If you just ignored it,
Exactly. And no one would have been listening. Everyone would have just laughed.
idiots. Like, that's the Streisand effect. Like, remember that whole thing where some
Yeah,
journalist showed Barbara Streisand's house and she made a big deal about it, so now everyone's seen her house? Like,
yeah,
if she had just, if the Macrons had just let people gossip
yeah.
and talk, every public figure, I mean, Catherine and I, we have conspiracies about us, Catherine, that couldn't be furthest from
I've
the
seen some
truth.
brilliant ones. I mean, if only I was as interesting as they made out to be. I mean, I'd love, seriously,
Yeah.
I'm just about to have my third midlife crisis, so there could be something coming out very soon.
I mean,
Watch this space.
I'm way more interesting in the conspiracies. I'm like,
Yeah,
tell me about myself. I
yeah.
think we both live. I love my life, but my life would not sell on a reality TV show. No one would watch it because it's
Yeah.
really boring. But I mean, I always laugh that my three-letter agency person who's spying on me is probably bored to tears because I don't really leave my house unless it's to go to the grocery store, go to work, or to take the dog out. So like he's
When they
probably
book me, they're just going to hear me talking to my guinea pigs and my ponies and my cats and the dogs all the time. Although apparently I was the other day, a night, we've talked about this before, about how freeing, just madly dancing, and I was dancing in the dark with my headphones on in the garden barefoot. And I didn't realise because I had my headphones on that I was singing James Blunt at the top of my voice. So my daughter was like, "Do you realise all the neighbours would have heard you?" And I thought I was being quiet, but I
like
wasn't.
dinner at a show,
So
dinner at a show.
they might have enjoyed that bit. But this is so deep. And I think one thing that Candace has on her side, apart from truth and integrity, is her belief system is so solid.
I was
And I
about to say
think
that. Yeah,
when you
the
have,
faith.
look, we've talked loads of times about how religion can be a huge form of mind control, but Candace, that's different to faith, and her faith is so strong, and her family's faith is so strong, and her followers, for want of a better word, are so behind her, and she's got so many of us. I think that's like a huge, I'm hoping, protective shield over her.
I was about to say that too. I don't agree with Candace's religious beliefs,
No.
but I admire her faith.
Yeah.
And having a religion and having faith are two different things. They can coexist. And I think her faith beyond anything, her faith in God, her
Mm,
faith in truth, her faith in love, her
mm,
faith in doing the right thing is so strong that there is a su I wonder if there's going to be a supernatural element to this
mm,
where the Macrons are not liked here in the United States. I don't think the Macrons, I would, if I were a French citizen, I would want a recall
yeah.
because we know most of our people in power are not there by will of the people, by virtue of the people. So at this point, seeing what people have had to say about the Macrons makes me wonder if they were not played with, we know most people are
Mm,
placed there. So they're not popular. They're not popular here in the United States. What the Macrons I think mistake too, speaking of faith, is that most Americans, America is a very evangelical country. We have a lot of deeply religious people here, Christian people, and I think Candace attracts those people too because they share that common bond. Whereas Catherine and I might not be religious, we're both deeply spiritual. So even though we don't share the same religious beliefs, we share the same faith that there
yes.
is right and wrong, there is a creator, and there is a spiritual world around us. There is a supernatural world around us. And so with that energy of all the people who are praying for Candace, all the people that we know from the Cassiopeans, if we want to bring them into it, that Candace is right. They have said she's absolutely correct in her research. They will not go deep into where the real Brigitte is, the
Mm,
sister. They won't go there. The identity allegedly that Brigitte took, which was her sister's. Um, and we know that with prayer and with will of people with faith, that can change outcomes. The,
massively.
the allegedly, the Cassiopeans have said allegedly the I don't know why I can say the B word that skimmed Mr. T's ear, the head was actually his head was actually turned, they said by a negative entity because so many people were praying that if they had allowed that to hit him, it would have interfered with the will of the people, the free will of the people, and it would have depolarized the negative. And I know that's deep because if you guys don't know the Cassiopeans law of one, that might not be make sense to you. But so we know prayer can actually, the will of people can actually for everything is based off consent in the universe.
And I
So
just, that's one area I really disagree with Caspians, because there's not one bone in my body that believes that that
it
bullet
was really,
that was real. If he did, he needs to just single-handedly bring out the med bed that cured his ear, because anyone that's had a big chunk of your ear
I've
that's
had
got
my ear.
shut off, that has had that shut off, and 2 weeks later there's not a mark on it, then obviously that was God's work, because it was a miraculous healing. Because
I I have a little indentation there. I don't know if you
yeah,
can see it. I had a little chunk of my ear cut off when I was in high school because there was a pre-cancerous bit there. And funny story, they put me under local anesthesia, not full, and so I could still hear even though I was completely high as a kite, and I couldn't I just felt them like it just felt like tugging on my
yeah,
ear. I could still hear the conversations that the doctor and I think they forgot I was a 15-year-old kid because I
yeah.
remember it was a very inappropriate conversation the doctor was having about his new girlfriend when I was like literally in my
Yeah, in
ear
my ear.
as they were cutting my ear off. So yeah, I
Perhaps
still
that was deliberate to distract you and not get you panicking. Hi, everyone. It's Catherine here. And before I dive into today's episode, I want to really quickly share something that's so important to me. I love hosting this podcast because it allows us all to explore those big questions, challenge our programming, and uncover the natural truths that truly empower us. But did you know my real passion's working one-on-one with animals and people, helping you or your animal cut through the noise, find the root cause of imbalances, stress, illnesses, or really just create a personalized plan that actually works for you. So whether you're here for your own healing or you're a dedicated animal guardian, wanting the very best for your dog, cat, horse, any four-legged or scaled or winged companion, I'm here for you both. I work with animals and humans, but I especially love helping the animals thrive. That is my real happy place. So my recharge and reset consultations and online courses are packed with practical tools, printable resources, lifelong access, and the main thing is you'll never feel alone on this journey. And they work. Just head over to my website and check out the testimonials. So if you're really ready to take action and not just listen, head over to CatherineEdwards.life, that's Catherine with the C and .life at the end, and explore my courses and consults. Or if you want to, book a free 15-minute chat to see if I can help. Because it's really important we stop outsourcing our health, really look after our animal companions better than before, and start leading by example. Now back to the podcast.
I mean, I
Thank
was
you.
in there like, and sometimes I think back on that conversation because you remember everything. It's
Yeah.
just your body's numb basically. And I was just like, I think they forgot that I wasn't completely out. And but no, I still have you can kind of see a little piece
Yeah.
of missing from.
Miraculously, you obviously haven't got the power of God healing your ear, because Trump's has got not a mark on it, and it didn't like a week or so later. So there we go. But that's beside the point. I think, with this issue, there's so much at stake. One, this is a complete precedent being set with a foreign
Mhm.
head of state suing a journalist in a different
Oh,
country.
this just never happened. Yeah, we're making history.
Unbelievable. Secondly, the fact that that said journalist, Candace Owens, hasn't crumbled under the pressure. I
Mhm.
mean, that takes some balls. Be
Well, I
part
was
of
about to say her balls are bigger than
bigger than
Brigitte.
Brigitte. But I wanted to bring in, there's been some interesting discussions. Like I listened to, even though it pained me to do it, the Piers Morgan interview with her. And but I listened to it, it brought up an interesting point for me. I really want your thoughts on this, Brice. So Piers Morgan strongly believes that Candace Owens is wrong and that Brigitte is really a woman. Now, I find that incredible, but equally, there is this confirmation bias. So when you've got a strong belief about something, you will naturally, all of us, will look for things that back up our point of view, our belief
Right.
being right. So I'm not immune to that as much as as all the rest of us. We're all subject to this confirmation bias. So I can't see what Piers Morgan is seeing that thinks she's wrong, and they's now got a bet of £300,000 to charity if it's proved right or wrong. But I honestly believe he genuinely believes that she's wrong. Now we know he's been wrong about loads in the past. I mean, he heavily pushed the vaccine. He
Mhm.
pushed the Iraq war. He's done. Oh no, perhaps he didn't do that. I can't remember actually. But he's been wrong about a lot of it, as have many of us. But why do you think? This is. You've got Tucker Carlson and one thing, but didn't you think even in the Tucker Carlson interview, my takeaway from that, Bryce, was that Tucker Carlson was sort of laughing along and things, but at no state did I hear him say, unless I missed it, yes, I agree with you, and yes, she's a man.
Yeah, I think Tucker is different from Candace in the sense that he's always been a journalist, where she
Yeah.
kind of became one over, she kind of was doing what you and I are doing and just got, and that's the thing, guys, if you're listening from YouTube, we talk about how on YouTube, Catherine and I are not registered as news organizations. We could if we wanted to, but that means our liability insurance would go up. We'd have to get liability insurance. We would be subject to way more scrutiny than just being citizens given our opinions. And so
Mm.
that's why I've never registered myself as I don't want to be registered as a new
No.
organization. It's way too much pressure. But someone like Candace, she has the means. She has, for Catherine and me, it's just us doing our own research. We share notes with each other, but we're literally presenting our own research. Where Candace has a team
Mm.
of people that can double check this stuff. She's got the money. She's got a lawyer. She's got everything. And I trust that her lawyer before she puts, because she goes through her lawyer, or
A
at least she's
lot.
trained a lot before she puts things out. So she's smart. And if there is enough, it's not defamation. This is what the
If it's
Macrons need to
true.
understand if it's true. It's not defamation if it's true. It doesn't matter if the truth has hurt you, it's still not defamation if it's true. And so that's the problem here is that I believe Candace is correct. I don't know what Pierce Morgan's. Here's the thing when all these whispers about Brigitte Macron started happening, yes, from a distance, at the first glance, Brigitte Macron looks like a elderly woman,
Mm.
right? But then you start looking at her closely. There's with her knees, someone pointed out, a female's kneecaps are going to curve inward slightly. So if you looked at Catherine and me beyond our
Have a
hips,
look at mine whilst you're saying this and just
I
check.
know when I heard that, I checked mine in the mirror. I was like, oh,
I
they do
haven't got a
look
winkle.
like,
Oh, yes, mine go in. Mine do
yeah,
go.
mine slightly curved in as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So, but men's kneecaps don't. They are completely perpendicular. They don't curve in, they're just
yeah.
right there. And if you look at her legs, her kneecaps, so even women who have very skinny legs, I have skinny legs, you'll see a slight tilt in their kneecap. You'll see a slight tilt in my kneecap. But if you saw me and my boyfriend, he's got skinny legs too, standing beside each other in shorts, his kneecaps are going to be completely beside each other and mine are
Yeah.
going to tilt slightly in. Right? So that's one marker that we're seeing that. So when you start to look, collarbones are
Yeah.
another. Women tend to curve up more, whereas men, now if I hold my chest back like this, mine will go closer.
Look, for everyone listening, they go up.
Yeah, mine goes up, mine goes up. See, mine goes like
Yeah.
up here, whereas a man is going to go more out to the side.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not as big. That's kind of like the kneecaps, right? There's a more of a tilt with women
Yeah.
than there is with men. So there's all these different things. Now the hips, I know the hips are one thing. Listen, some women have smaller hips than others. I don't really judge hips because hips don't. My best friend growing up, her mother was tiny, 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 and my best friend, when she was giving birth to her, got stuck in the birth canal because that was
Yeah.
before they understood, really knew to check that before. And she had a stroke in the birth canal, and she had a lot of surgeries growing up. And then her little brother was a cesarean section, right? So there are women who do have very small hips, and they are biological women, right? So I don't really look at hips when I look at
Yeah.
that. Certain sports, if you do certain sports as a kid, that like
Your then your yeah then your hip your shoulders will be a lot wider than the hip. So you're
swimmers,
so
female
right. Yeah.
swimmers, yes, gymnasts, female swimmers have big. If you do it as a kid when you're growing, can kind of change that a little bit.
Yeah.
But what got me was I remember this like years ago before I was on YouTube, and they started whispering about the fact that Brigitte might have had an inappropriate relationship with
Yeah.
him when he was a kid. That was before even the whispers of her possibly being a man. And there was this big conversation on this radio program because I believe at that time in France, they were kind of like the journalists that were communicating with American journalists were kind of gaslighting this. We're like, no, we want to celebrate the fact that she's an older woman married to a younger man because women marry older men
Mm.
all the time. In America, they're like, well, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he didn't meet her as a fully grown adult. He met
Mm.
her as an underage child. So we
Mm.
have some questions here about grooming, basically. And
Well,
that was,
imagine if it was the other way round.
oh, I know, right? Speaking
I
of
mean,
the other
that's the
way around,
whole, it's ridiculous. A man would be, if that was found out that a man doing that to a woman, but obviously this might be even worse. But oh, it's incredible. Oh, what tangled web you weave when first you practice to deceive. And I love this so much, Bryce, because for me, if it goes the way we want it to, I want to be hopeful, but given the Diddy trial, given the Epstein trial, given everything, I've never seen one that has. But
Hmm.
I'm just not prepared to give up that this won't be different. Because
I am, yeah.
if it does, then a whole new wave of people are going to start asking the questions they need to be asking.
If this turns out in my gut, I kind of feel like in my gut, and I hope this isn't wishful thinking.
Yeah,
I think that's the difference between
yeah,
me, and Catherine. We understand we're brainwashed and we understand sometimes we have confirmation bias. Even in my hoping my gut is right, I understand I could be wrong. So I'm just saying this might be wishful thinking on my part. I just have this sneaking suspicion because so much is on the line that I don't think it was Emmanuel. I think Brigitte Macron is so used to, I think she is, in my opinion, she is a vile human being. I think she has is so used to bullying her way around, getting what she wants, screaming the victim when somebody's just pointing out the obvious. I think that she has gone rogue and has done this. I think she's gotten too big for her britches, as we say. And I think at this point, the establishment, the controllers of the world, are just going to let it play out and then sacrifice them because this group that and I'm hoping that's right. I could be wrong. They could be trying to make an example out of Candace. I don't know, and shut everybody up because it's so weird to me, Catherine, that all these journalists over in France, Candace Owens is on the complete extreme opposite aisle politically. She's in the extreme, she's in the right, she's on the right side. These were very leftist journalists in France, very woke journalists.
mm,
And the fact that they all came to the same conclusion, not meaning to.
exactly. I completely. And I think, this is absolutely huge on so many. I think I've got a feeling I'm exactly the same as you. I'm really hoping that my intuition isn't just wishful thinking and this is going to blow wide open. But equally, I'm going to be intrigued because, say, for someone like Trump, for example, if he's going to pretend, if this is true and he's going to pretend he didn't know, absolute bullshit. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
well, he
no
didn't.
way
Yeah.
you can be in those circles and not know about a lot of these deceits. So let's see how it plays out. And the reason, this is so many different layers to this. It's a really, really important case for so many different reasons. If this doesn't go to plan, then we're all in a society a massive, massive problem because free speech will be completely dead.
Freedom of the
Because
press will be dead
everyone's going to
too.
be terrified to, start talking about these issues even more.
I mean, we already, as with freedom of the press, Catherine, we are already stepping out of the bounds, not even registered as media. You and I are
Yeah,
speaking against things, and people like Candace Owens, and even to an extent, Andrew Gold, who used to work for the
yeah,
BBC. He's done some, and those people are going to be these people that have left mainstream media to try to do real journalism. They're going to be shut down if this is allowed to go through, and Candace is allowed to be made an example of. And I think it's time for all of us. I mean, I think it'd be so cool if I know we have French listeners, viewers. If you guys hear this, I know that our French listeners are very much aware, obviously, of the struggles with their leader. If you can show Candace support, because I
yeah,
think this would be huge for the French people. Listen, no offense, Catherine, but the French helped us out in the American
yeah.
Revolution when we fought against the British. So I guess for
We've
the Americans
always
now,
had a dodgy relationship, the British and the French, but we
yeah.
don't hold it against each other anymore. And I think
No, we're just humans. Yeah.
I've
We're all
got one
just
more
humans.
point I want to ask you about that I forgot to
Yeah.
bring up. And I'm asking this when I'm asking Bryce questions, I'm asking questions to everyone in the audience as well. Okay. Okay, so another scenario that we haven't talked about is they could let it out about her being a male to try and distract from the paedophilia links all around them. And I wonder whether that could be another tactic to sort of say, look over here to try and
Mm.
divert them. Because when you start digging deep into this and Xavier Busard's book, wow, I've got thunder, you are going to be absolutely blown away by the level that is coming out in here and how deep it goes and how corrupt and how widespread it is. And it sort of ties into a lot of the Sigmund Freud whole
Hmm.
psychology.
Yeah.
As we know, none of these things happen in isolation. They're all linked. So that's another view, that if it does come out, I think we've got to be really careful that we don't forget that it's deeper than this. How old was he? He was a teacher. She was a teacher, and he was a student. How old was he? What are their connections? Why has Macron had such dodgy jobs? Why is so much of his history completely lied about and hidden? This is much, much more than just whether she's a man or a woman. It's way more important than that.
I think if they let it out, I think what they're hoping to do is to make it a hate crime
Yeah,
against her. But I think, especially, so we've just had here in America the Sydney Sweeney incident. Were you aware of this, Catherine?
no.
So this just happened. It's another hysterical, it's hysterical that all
I
this.
kept seeing this out there and I have no idea what it's
It's
about.
so funny. So there's a company, a clothing company in America called American Eagle. It's kind of like a Gap. It's a
Yeah,
chain store. It's like jeans, khaki pants, collared shirts. It was big when I was in high school. Again, it's very much it's like an Abercrombie and
yeah.
Fitch meets the Gap, but it's not as expensive if it's Abercrombie and Fitch. Well, we've watched all these for these years, these billboards of like, transgender people, massively overweight people, what was it, Calvin Klein? One underwear commercial had a man in a bra, like super woke advertisement. Well, like maybe it was a week ago, I can't remember how long ago, they hired American Eagle hired Sydney Sweeney, who is a young female actress, I believe. She's in her early 20s. She's cisgendered, she's blonde hair, blue-eyed, regular weight, and the advertisement was her in jeans and a jean shirt for American Eagle, and it basically said, "I've got good genes."
Uh,
Play on words for
yeah,
DNA. Well, the left, you would have thought that war had broken out. The left claims that it was Nazi propaganda, that she, because she was a blonde haired, blue eyed, cisgendered woman saying, "I've got good genes." Well, the American people are so fed up with this woke mindset that American Eagle's profits went up 400 million in like 1 or 2 days from the ad because so many people were so angry about the woke people trying to shut down this beautiful billboard with a normal looking
I
model.
saw the pictures and I just had no idea what it was about. I didn't know who the people were,
Yeah.
didn't know who the company was.
I
Oh,
didn't know Sydney
wow.
Sweeney either because I don't really watch that
Yeah.
much TV anymore. But the company, I didn't even know American Eagle was still in business. I mean, that was. I mean, listen, guys, at 42, it takes a lot to get me to put jeans on. I like living in yoga pants now. So so but their profits just skyrocketed, and they did not issue, they didn't retract it. They supported her. And she's just a model. And one of the gay conservatives I follow actually was like, Sydney Sweeney did her job. She was hired as a model to sell the jeans, and she sold the damn jeans. You
Yeah.
know, and I love all these. American Eagle, kind of like the Gap, is very much very like stereotypical white, like a lot of white people.
Yeah.
And I love it. All these black conservatives have been showing videos of themselves walking out of American Eagle with big bags of clothes, because they're
Brilliant.
with it too. So I think if this is any type of sign of how
Yeah.
fed up people are, nobody cares. If we have any leftists listening to us right now, I want to make this very clear. I think I can speak for Catherine when I say this. I don't care what fully grown adults do with their bodies or in their bedroom. I could not give two shits. As long as everybody's consenting, I don't care if Emmanuel wants to marry an 80-year-old transgendered person. I don't care. You do you, boo. Like, what the problem is, what Catherine is saying, is how deep this goes and
Mm,
how dirty it gets beneath the surface
mm.
of whether she's got a willy or not. Like, I don't care if she's
I
still got
don't, yeah, I just don't care at all. But I do care when when you realise that everything
is a
about
lie.
our so-called control systems, our governments, our royals, the education system, the financial system, the tax system, everything is a lie. And this just crumbles because let's face it, if there's a difference between living a good life that supports kindness, honesty, ethical behavior, living in conjunction with the parents. If you are deceiving about every aspect of your life, no one's going to trust those people about
Right.
anything. No one's going to want them making decisions on your behalf. And so, as you say, it's got nothing to do with what sex she is. It's got something to do with the lies, the
Lies
lies,
and
the
hurting
deceit.
children.
Yeah,
And I think that the Americans, and that's a good thing, for this case happening here in America, I think Americans looking at the CnE incidents, for example, are fed up with this. We've seen it now with most cases, we've seen it just in marketing and we've seen it in profits. Like
yeah,
if a company goes woke, they go broke,
yeah,
right? Like if Americans are showing their support by their dollar, where they're spending their dollars. But in this situation, I would hope, fingers crossed, that at least from the where this court is, where this case is actually happening in the country this is happening in, I'm hoping there's going to be people outside with signs. I'm
yeah,
hoping that when the Macrons pull up to this courthouse, if my gut is right and Brigitte went rogue, I hope they see the amount of Americans standing there with signs protesting them, that they have an oh shit moment.
yeah,
That you and you're right, Catherine, with the French. I've said this since day one. The French, no one revolutions like the French. I mean, the
exactly.
American Revolution was unicorns and Play-Doh compared to what happened in France.
Yeah.
And if I were a politician in France, I would be real careful because historically that was not that long ago.
And
And
also, I would be, I'm not putting out that, I would be genuinely concerned that I'd majorly effed up if I was the Macron's lawyer. I
yeah,
would
oh
be
my God.
absolutely pooping my pants if I was them. Just saying.
Yes.
I really hope nothing awful comes to them. I really hope they stay safe as well. And I hope other people on the periphery of this case stay very, very safe. And I think one of the things is sometimes when it gets so big, you cannot hide it any longer. You've dug your own grave. And that's what I'm hoping. But I tell you what, I would not want to be in their shoes at all.
No, because they're hiring. Are they hiring American lawyers for this? Or are they taking their
I
French
I
lawyers
don't
to?
know. I think it came from a French law, but I don't know. That could be wrong. But I would be
Yeah.
pooping myself, I'll tell you.
No, I don't know if an American lawyer would take the Macron's case at this point because it's so, I mean, they could get a lot of money for it,
Yeah,
but if especially since they know that Candace gets to pick
yeah.
whether it's jury that the Macrons can't pick, she gets to pick, and if she picks a jury, oh shit. Like we're
Let's
not
just
doing
hope
this.
it doesn't go the way of Diddy and everything else. Let's just hope that this time
Justice is
that there's a
served. And
change, and let's all put that positive energy out there because you are so right what you said earlier. It really does make a difference. So let's just
makes a
not be
difference.
defeated on this one and give her all the support we can.
And
Whether
if
she's right or wrong, the fact of the matter is she has the right to talk about it and do the research. And if this isn't that, it's their job then to counteract it and prove that she's talking rubbish.
Right. And hopefully if she wins, hopefully this protects all the journalists in France who
Mm,
have had to relocate.
yeah,
Like this is a spider web. This is not
terrible what
just
they've been
a civil
through.
case in the United
Yeah,
States. This is going to trickle out to the whole Western world,
yeah,
So this is not just an American issue. This is not just a French issue. This is like the people versus the establishment
mm,
issue. And let us know, guys, if you want Catherine and me to show up in Delaware, let us know.
yeah. I know, and yeah, thank you so much. We really can't wait to hear your comments in the chat. It's an important issue. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know sort of any information you've got. We've got our email addresses behind there. And I wanted to finish. You've had so Bryce's links will be below, and if you're listening on the podcast, it will be in the show notes. Bryce, you've had some changes to your academy, some really important ones. Can you just run us through these?
Yes, can I share screen? I'll show people
Yes.
on so guys, we decided we did a facelift for the academy. Nothing has really changed except for the name. So we realized that calling it the Esoteric Academy was probably hurting us in a lot of ways because people didn't know what we were. Because we're an online fitness boutique with the crux of our teaching though through exercise is spirituality. And so we've literally just changed the name and we've cleaned it up a little bit. We do still have our 10-day shadow work challenge for free. And more, this is the homepage. There's information here. But we've definitely, so under products, we have membership, which is basically just the exercise. And then the workshops is the exercise and the courses. And of course, Catherine is on the academy as well. And so we're hoping we've cleaned up the exercise so it's a little bit more easier to navigate for people. And so basically all that's really happened is just a cleanup and a name change. That's it. And so we're still at there's a free page, but then level 2, which is the exercise library, is 25 a month, and then the whole workshops with the exercise is 40 a month. But of course, if you use Catherine's discount, you get 20% off the first 6 months of your tuition. And it's a way, speaking of like, middle finger to the academy, I was telling my class yesterday, my live class, Catherine, that there's nothing, we think about like punk rock, right? We think
Yeah.
about punk rock and rock and roll. There's nothing more punk rock and middle finger to the establishment than actually taking care of yourself.
I so agree. It's so important. It's the foundation of everything. I'd really encourage everyone to support you this. This is literally taking the power back for your health. Can do it in the peace and privacy of your own home, lifelong access. It's
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. And I have my own academy. The link will be below. There's a few technical hitches on that this week, so don't give up. They've the hosts have migrated over to a new server and it's causing issues. But mine complements Brice's brilliantly, because whilst Brice and Paula's is all about exercise and the spirituality associated with that, mine's the other side of the health spectrum for you and your animals. It's got things like stress management, loads of courses for holistic health for your animals and empowering yourself, and lots more coming on that. So it's a great way, if you like our content, to support us
Yeah.
whilst getting something really valuable back for yourself.
Yes, and our new name, I don't know if I said Fusion Body Studio. So I don't know if I said that. So we're fusing, we came up with that name because we're using the body to fuse the mind, the spirit, and the body all together in this human experience. And absolutely, Catherine, I couldn't agree more. They complement each other. And as teachers, I consider Catherine, you and me to be teachers of this particular, not of Brigitte Macron. We're just having a copy chat over that, but
Yeah,
over our actual, what we do for a living off of YouTube. And I always tell people like a teacher's job is to eventually not be needed. It's to give you the
absolutely.
tools that we've been given so that you can take your power back from big, I'm not going to say big zapper-dee-doo-dah company to, although Catherine, I know you saw in the United States, the amount of parents not zapper-dee-doo-dahing their children at birth has gone up significantly.
Significantly. Same over here. It's fantastic.
Amazing, amazing.
Absolutely
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if you want more information on nutrition, like with Catherine, like what foods are good for what issues, like to get away from that, then that's a great place to start to really take your power back. And even dementia, they're just learning now that the stronger your legs are, it decreases what by like 90% your
Yeah.
chance of dementia. That's incredible. 90% just by strengthening your
Unbelievable.
legs,
Yeah.
So be
Fantastic.
well,
Thank you so much for being everywhere. Thanks so much for what you do. The links, regardless of what platform you're on, please help us, get this information out there. We are happy to be laughed at. Send this video or any of the others on our channels to people that you want to start critically thinking. They can mock us instead of you, but it's
yeah.
planting those seeds, and that's really, really important.
And thank you, Candace, and for having balls bigger than Brigitte Macron's. Because
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Take care. We'll be back next week on Brice's channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.